The 2010 film Faster is a movie that has issues, simply because the story wasn't that great, the acting was much to be desired, and Dwayne Johnson's performance was not the greatest. But I wouldn't say it's one of the worst films I've seen, but this movie could have been a lot better. I had remembered this film years ago as not being too good, and I was correct when I recently rewatched this movie for this review. A lot of issues I have with this film is Dwayne Johnson's performance. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not horrible, but his character is named Driver. Seriously, that's his character name. I think it's like one point in the film they might have said his name or so, but other than that, he's known as Driver. And not just that, he is on a revenge to avenge his brother's death. So he takes out all these other criminals that had turned on him and his brother. And basically, when Driver is doing all this, there's no characterization. Dwayne Johnson's performance is pretty wooden. The reason I said it because all throughout the film, he walks around, looking like a badass, not saying much lines. He's just a silent protagonist for a large part of this film. Now, he says lines, of course, but it's nothing really worthwhile, and it's nothing captivating either. If anything, the other actors in this movie, they did a decent job, but it wasn't fantastic. I wasn't bored by anyone's performance in this film, but I will say that Oliver Jackson Cohen, who had played a hitman to Kill Driver, he was over the top, I must say. I guess that's what he was going for, but other than that, this film really doesn't do anything different than other films have done better. Basically, this is like a one-and-done movie. And it's interesting seeing Dwayne Johnson return to the action genre, considering over the past few years before this movie came out, he was doing other films like drama films and comedy films. So it was a nice forte, but this movie really just don't do it for me. If you've never seen this film before, I suggest you could check it out because there are some entertaining moments peppered throughout this film. What I really didn't like about this film was the lack of characterization for the other characters in this movie. Seriously, the crew that Driver had ran with in the flashbacks we see in this film, we don't know their backstory. We might get one or two explanations to why they did it, but we don't see the people they become. But nonetheless, that's the least of this film's problems. Billy Bob Thornton, who plays the cop in this film, he makes one stupid decision. That part is, this is a spoiler warning, he actually shoots at Driver without announcing he was a cop. Really? What kind of asinine decision is that? And not just that oversight, but the other characters in this film, we don't spend enough time with them to learn anything. Like, for example, Driver had a ex-girlfriend. We see her for one part of the film, then she disappears. It adds nothing to the story. The hitman adds nothing to the story. It's like they threw everything at the wall and see if it could stick. Did work, kind of. I was interested in this film somewhat, despite how bad this movie is. Like I mentioned before, it has entertaining moments here and there, but at the end of the day, this is still a pretty bad film. I'm giving this film a 6 out of 10. This movie was underwhelming rewatching it, simply because of everything I mentioned beforehand. Not just that though, but couldn't they have gave us an exciting film? Don't get me wrong, the action scenes are cool, and then we see Driver being a badass and all, but we don't really know his backstory all that much other than that flashback we get earlier in the film. And not just that though, I kind of felt like if this movie was longer, maybe we could have fleshed out more of these characters. But still, this film right here is plagued with problems. The story wasn't great. The acting could have been a lot better. And the lack of characterization for a lot of these characters really hurt this film. This film is not a dumpster fire, but it's close to being one. What keeps it from being a dumpster fire is the action scenes and some enjoyable moments, like I mentioned before. Nonetheless, though, at the end of the day, this is a film I wouldn't go out my way to rewatch simply because Dwayne Johnson has a lot more interesting films he's made over the years. And that's my review of the film Faster. Okay, leave your comments down below in the section and let me know what you think about this film. Alright, this is Slum Guy 172 saying, peace out.